Good day, ma'am. I am Ramel Canete, and for today, I'm going to discuss the Chapter 5 of Business Organization and Management, which entitled The Ownership and Structural Forms of Business Enterprise. So, so the objectives of this chapter is to be able to know what are the kinds of business ownership, and second is to be able to understand the classifications of business, and lastly to be able to know what are the difference of the kinds of business ownership. So there are three classifications of business. So first is the private ownership, the public ownership, and lastly the mixed ownership. So when we say private ownership, it is when the enterprise is organized of private individuals and enjoys the rights and privileges of their own interest. So basically, this is the or any business or any kinds of establishment is owned by only one person or any individual that has that he has or she has his own policy, she has his own kind of decision making, and he or she will not listen to any other person. Example for private ownership is just like any sari-sari store. Any sari-sari store that is owned and managed by someone or any individual. And other examples are like food carts, kanang mga street foods, and some are like small businesses such as meat shops, chicken shops, and other a other businesses. So the next classification is the public ownership. So when we say public ownership, it is the organization of an enterprise is managed and controlled by political bodies like municipal, provincial, or national government. So when we say public ownership, it is the business is owned and managed by the government. So for example, kanang there are certain places or any establishments that is being managed by the government because the government has put an effort and budget to that project, so that in return the government will receive an revenue or profit out from the business that being built. So, and lastly, the mixed ownership. So when we say mixed ownership, it is when the elements of ownership are divided, such as private persons and public bodies, and they share in the operations of the business enterprise. So this kind of ownership is mixed or a collaboration between the public public and the private, because there are some business or establishment that is being managed both the uh, private sector and the public sector, just like that. So in this case, the mixed ownership, the or whatever the revenue or the profit out from the business is being shared by both sides. So for example, if the private and public is going to have a business of a hotel, the the profit or the revenue that or income that is out from the hotel is being shared by both sides. So in this case, the or whatever in this case whatever the in this case whatever the problems may arise, then it is not that hard to handle because there are many people or there are different brains who can contribute to mitigate and scope the problem that may arise in this kind of ownership of any business. And the next slide is the ownership and structural forms of business. So the next slide is the ownership and the structural forms of business. So there are five different kinds of there are five structures or structural forms of business. First is the sole proprietorship. So when we say sole proprietorship, in my own words, sole proprietorship is kanang ikaw ang or only one person who owns the business. Only one person. He or she don't have any someone who can lean on if there are or if there are any problems that may arise in the business. So sole proprietorship is where ownership is vested in one person. So that's what I've said. And we have, and this kind of proprietorship is this form is or this kind of ownership is small, requires a little amount of capital, and known form of ownership is usually referred to as a sole proprietorship or individual entrepreneurship. So example for this is just a sari-sari store, which is most of just like our neighbors, or we can see this kind of proprietorship or ownership of business is more abundant than any other businesses, because if we can see, there are many sari-sari stores, and kanang magsunod na gani ang uban. So because this kind of ownership is easily to manage and easy to handle, and this doesn't require a lot of money to start this business. So that is sole proprietorship. But an additional of the sole proprietorship, there are certain advantages of kana single proprietorship or the sole proprietorship. So ang nakanindot man gud sa sole proprietorship, or we are the owner of any business, is it is easy to start for us. So dali ra nato siya masugdan, and we have the full control of the business. So if we have any if we want to make something changes of the business on how we plan to run it, then we can have our we can easily control and change on how we manage the business. So, and there is also high credit of standing. So when we say high credit of standing, so anyone who extends credit to a business owned by one person may look beyond the value of the firm. So that's it for the sole proprietorship. And the next is the partnership. So when we say partnership, when we say partnership, any this is the collaboration or the joint venture of the two people or two individuals who created a business. So in partnership of any business, so there are two people. So for example, the person one and the person two agreed to create a business of just like wholesale or convenience store. Then opening a bigger business is hard to handle of by one person. So it requires uh, another person who will accept the equal amount of effort and kanang silang duha magtunga kung unsa ang mga business, and they will help each other to grow their business. So that is partnership. So also in starting a business with a partnership or with a partnership structure, so this kind dili na kailangan pang daghang agian. So pwede ra it pwede ra magsabot-sabot because you and only only both of only both of the people who will agree to in creating a business will go for it. So it's like verbal communication or verbal agreement will do. So even if the partnership structure is most commonly used is so even if the partnership structure is mostly used by the businesses, there are some advantages of it, because when when there is a conflict between the two people when there is a conflict between the two people, there it causes the delay of any it causes the delay. If there is any conflict, it causes some delay or difficulties to the or it could lead to endanger their enterprise or business. So next is the cooperative organization. So when we say cooperative organization, so a cooperative has some elements or large partnership and also features of a corporation, although it is distinct from both. So the principal theory of this cooperative association is the elimination of profit as the controlling motivation and reduction of certain economic evils. So under the cooperative system, enterprise are formed to provide goods and services to the members at cost. So just like cooperative organization is, from what I experienced, is this is commonly used in the barangays. So there are, for example, in our barangay there is a group of farmers who makes a cooperative. So what they do is they purchase uh, machines or machineries for farming, and through their effort and cooperation, they they achieve what they wanted, and the the machine that they purchased or divide is all of them uses it during the planting season or the cropping season, and they and use their and the other machineries that they brought both is they use the they use it in harvesting season. So through the cooperation of the cooperatives, so of the individuals, so they makes their cooperative organization to be more successful. So in the advantages of there are advantages of the cooperative organization, because if in the cooperative organization is there are many peoples involved. So if there are any of the if there are some problems that arises, then they can conduct a meeting, and kanang sa dali ra nga time or panahon, they solve the problems. So that is one of the advantage of the cooperative. So and the disadvantage, if there are some person who will disagree to the of kanang who will dili mo agree, so there are people who will kanang mo agni niya para mo join aw dili who will not kanang mutiwalag din so that the cooperative so ang ilang cooperative organization is mo continue and mo grow pa. And for the next structure is the corporation. So corporation is the artificial being created by operations of law having the right of succession and the powers, attributes, and properties expressly authorized by law or incident to its existence. So this corporation is only those huge businesses because just like in the movies kanang dagko na jud kayong mga negosyo. So the advantages of the corporation is you will just put money and do you can have the so the advantages of corporation is there are there are many people or many individuals who are kanang belong or daghan kaayo ang tao or mga executives nga who will contribute their effort, time, and knowledge for the growth or for the growth of the business. And corporation will be as what I've learned in the business finance. So corporation must be registered in SEC and or the Security and Exchange Commissions, and it will only last 50 from its creation. The limit is 50 years. So after 50 years or before turning to 50 years, it must be renewed so that the corporation or the company that is being established by that group of people or that corporation is will continue to operate. So the naag ni siya disadvantages ang corporation. So when we say corporation is if one of the executives of one of the owner of the business is or may die, so the other or the ang iyang mga kauban is dili makapuli because kanang there is a successions of positions in this kind of ownership. So dili ni siya ilog sa lain because if the father may die, then his wife or children may success to his position. And last structural forms of business ownership is the corporate combination. So when we say corporate combination, so it is the combination of two or more corporations. So butas about corporation or the kanang one this corporation and this corporation will collaborate and create a business or join together, then and then by that it is called corporate combination. So for example, the corporation of this business entities just like the what kind the GG for example the GG&F Corporation and MM Suarez Corporation will collaborate or will join together to create a business. Just for example, they will both corporation will create a business of commercial or uh, so the GG&F and the MM Suarez will collaborate or join together and create their joint venture business. For example, they will kanang sand and gravel businesses. So sand and gravel is a huge business. Kay this kind of business is commonly or dili jud ni siya pwede mawala kay this kind of business is used in the uh, the buildings, or in the creations of schools, buildings, hotels, resorts, and or this kind of business is being used in the creation of any kinds of infrastructure projects. So to sum it up, the ownership and these are the so to sum it up, the three classifications of business is the private ownership, public ownership, and mixed ownership. So the difference between these three is the private ownership is owned by only one person or individual. So, and the public ownership is owned by two peoples or two individuals. And the mixed ownership is the difference of this is mixed ownership is being managed of both is being managed of public and private people or sector or person. And the difference of the structural forms of business in ownership is sole proprietorship is what I've said is owned by only one person or individuals. Then the partnership owned by two. Then uh, cooperative organization is owned by a group of associations of people. Then uh, corporation is a group of peoples or kanang business owners, and they collaborate for the same business. Then corporate combinations is the combination of the two or more corporations. So that is the difference. And I hope that I've discussed the ownership and structural forms of business enterprise, ma'am, and that's all for today. Thank you.